So at this point of the show, I would love to bring in our special guest that we're going to be talking about astrology. And Shelley Warren, are you on the call with us today?
Yes, I am. Hi, Alex.
Hey, hi there, Shelley. We were just talking about how it's very interesting how I'm doing this whole series on energy, a 40-part series on energy and all kinds of topics. And most of it is the flow of energy, how things are flowing and how things are happening. And really interesting is that even the cosmos are within ourselves and outside ourselves are beginning to have some sort of fluctuation out there. Things are changing. And one of the great things here, that's why I wanted to do an earlier show on astrology, to kind of show people how things are connected astrologically out there and also internally within us and how we have a part about this. So I wanted to bring you onto the show and tell our audience about astrology. Okay, Shelley?
Awesome.
Great. So don't you think that things are happening astrologically and within ourselves? Isn't it kind of interesting?
Yes, absolutely. And, my belief is that if you just think that we're all energy fields, little walking and talking energy fields, and the moment that you're born, like you breathe your first breath, you breathe in the energy of what's happening in that particular moment. And so that old saying, so within, so without, so above, so below. So we all have a soul print, which is your astrological moment of birth. And the energy is who we radiate for our life. And so our life's mission is to work through all the different aspects that were occurring right in that particular moment.
I like when you said that, Shelley, that when you're born, that's like your soul print, isn't it? Huh?
Yes. Yes. It's our soul print. It's our blueprint of what we're here to do. It's our gifts. It's our challenges, our talents, and it's our patterns, and it's our character. And so, character is our destiny. And so who your character is who you become, who you grow into. And a really great example of energy is, when you meet someone, they radiate some kind of energy. You either like them or you don't like them.
Yes.
It's the same. They either have challenging aspects that don't go with you, or you have challenging aspects that don't go with them. So it's the energy of the person that you vibe to or not. It's the same thing with astrology. You are a little walking cosmos inside your own little, body spaceship.
What another thing too, Shelley, which is interesting. I always say to people that all these topics that I've touched upon, either be magnet therapists or it could be cheap therapists out there, chiropractors. I mean, you have to intuitively within yourself kind of sense, that you're vibrating right with that person. Isn't that the same concept would be also with an astrologer, an astrologist person as well?
Yeah. You have to vibe with the person. It's the energy. That's what the vibe is. The vibe is the energy. You go to the ocean and you're vibing to the water. And if you have a lot of water planets in your natal soul print chart, that makes you feel good. If you have a lot of fire in your chart, you like to get up and go and be and do and get fired up about things. So it's the basic elements. If you have a lot of earth in your chart, you like to be solid and practical and grounded. So who we are is a mix of earth, air, water, and fire, which are the elements, which is energy. Yeah.
But I see that's really interesting. So basically, you can look at it as a stamp, like a big metal stamp that, stamps you as soon as soon as you're born, then you get stamped, and realistically, all those planets, that are in that instant that you were born, then if your moon is in an Aquarius, whatever, and we'll get into that. But then basically, it's like you said, it's like a Photoshop. It's like a photo, and it's stamped there with all the planets. And that's very interesting that you're saying that. A lot of people will be curious of that would make sense, that why people are like homebodies, and then you have people that are just crazy athletes out there and warriors, and you have people that are out there that are thinkers and all. Is it because when you were born, then those planets, whatever those houses mean, that's what you vibrate? Like you said, if you're a water person, you love being in the water. That's why a lot of people like living near water, because I'm assuming here that's the vibration that people are attracted to, and that follows you. Like you're stamped with that stamp when you were born, and then that kind of follows you.
So, you always have your natal chart as the blueprint or the stamp, all right? And then there's a couple of other ways that happen. So then what we have is what we call progressions, and that's what I like to call the inside job, what your soul is looking at moving, because everything is dynamic and energy and moving. So there's a couple of charts that planets that progress through time. And so then what happens is that you become for example, I'm an Aquarian, and my Aquarius astrology rules Aquarius, by the way, just so for any of our Aquarians out there and you feel naturally called to astrology. It's something that we love. But my progressed sun has moved into the sign of Aries. So for every year that you're alive, your sun moves 1 degree. So as you can see, it's a slow-moving process. And it's what the inside, your spiritual process is helping you to do. Alex, for you, your progressed sun has moved into the sign of Virgo. So being of service, being detailed, being organized, being a great communicator, those are also in addition to your sun sign. So we never lose our basic natal chart and print, but we progress through all this. Well, if you live to be 90, you're going to progress through 3 other signs that are right next to your sun sign.
Really? Long, huh?
Yeah. So it's really cool. And your rising sign progresses 1 degree a year. And then your moon sign moves through the chart at 1 degree a month. So every 2.5 years, your moons, which represent your emotions and your feelings and what makes you feel good, moves into another sign. So, every about 30 years, you go through, you go through the entire chart. So it cycles, but that's the inside job. And then the third thing is the transits. So the transits are what's happening today and how that affects your progressions, which is your slow-moving change, and then your natal chart. It always goes back to that moment in time when you were born, your natal chart.
Well, it seems like you need people like yourself that have been educated and a passion within you, and you're able to see these. Because it's a lot of complication. Because astrology goes back probably 7,000, probably in the eon of humanity. We've always been looking up, and that's probably one of the longest profession has been out there in the world, because it goes back to eons. And usually if something's been around for a long time, which this has been, astrology for 9,000 years, then there must be some truth to it, correct?
Absolutely. And, I believe, of course, that there's more truth to astrology than there is to a lot of different things. And matter of fact, the we three kings that found baby Jesus, those were three astrologers. And that's, they're famous in history. There's even songs about them, but they really were astrologers. And all the kings and, royalty had a resident astrologer to help them in making and planning major decisions. So
yeah, which is really interesting that, everyone, let's look at that reality that throughout, mankind's history, you had all kinds of, in the Vikings, you had in the Greeks and all, and going back into the Romans and all, and even the Asian, they all had astrologies there helping them, guide them through this reality that it seems like it's pretty much pretty real. I remember going back myself and doing a chart like maybe 25, 27 years ago, and it was kind of scary because it was kind of showing me how I was, and sometimes for myself, I guess it takes me a long time to get around to kind of looking at a real reality that there's a lot of truth to all this. And it seems like right now I'm coming back into these realms of this truth because things are going pretty bad. And a lot of us are beginning to be woken up, and we're beginning now to search for other things within ourselves to see, because the outside is bad, the outside is wrong, and we're all going inwards, going inside ourselves and trying to look for these answers. And maybe is there a reason why maybe very recently, whatever, that even on the planetary things are opening up more for the human race? Maybe that you have seen?
Yes. So I want to just go back to the very beginning concept of energy. So within, so without. And we are all spiritual beings having a physical experience. And every one of us is hardwired to find our heart, to go home, to find our spirit, to find our source. And even in ancient times, the astrologers helped the kings connect to their intuition, their higher self, their energy field. They didn't call it that at the time, but of course. And what I will say that, yes, we are in challenging times in our planet. And back in June of 2012, there became an aspect that was called Uranus, the planet of freedom, and Pluto, the planet of change and transformation, came into a very challenging aspect. And it's the outer planets move very slowly, and so if you have a positive aspect to an outer planet, it's like, yeah, this is great. But if you have a challenge, a square, then it's more difficult. So I just want you to imagine, a 90-degree angle, and you're walking down a road, and then you come to this turn, and you have to turn and now go up a hill. That's what a square represents. They're energies of two planetary powers that don't get along. You have to negotiate it. You have to change. And so this Pluto-Uranus square that started in June of 2012 actually completed in 2015 after 5 hits and 5, every year there were 2 major hits for those 3 years. And so now in 2016, every time we have a transit that hits those points between Uranus in Aries, pioneering, moving forward, and Pluto in Capricorn, the same old government function. It's asking us to change as a country, as a world. So when we go through these changes, it's almost like, you change in your inner world and we're changing in our outer world. So what you do in your own personal life has effect on the whole, the collective. And so it has been challenging. that major square is over, but we have had a couple of, clips, like January was of 2016 was we had to kind of revisit that whole conversation. So if you've made some major change that started in 212, that completed in 215, now you're just trying to get your feet on the ground to help you go in a new direction that's more in line with your soul, that's more in line with harmony and peace and what you want to do and where you want to go in your world. Make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The Pluto-Uranus square is a really big deal for everybody on our planet, and it's, it's freedom versus, I can just say it's individual freedom versus the government, and we all saw how that that unfolded, unfortunately or fortunately, for whatever reasons in our U.S. world, even in Britain. Everything is changing. There's breaking away from the constraints of government and things that don't work anymore, big business, all that.
So what was once great and big is coming to be small now. It's reverting.
Yeah. Well, what we want to accomplish is that the free will or freedom of movement, or not to be confined, or not to have a system that no longer functions, holding us back. And that was the vote of the American people. And in your own life, so what you want to always do, there's the collective, which is all of us, and then there's your individual soul print. So above, so below, so within, so without. So how has your life, the question you ask is, how has my life changed? What direction have I gone? Am I still working in a job that I cannot take anymore? Am I out of integrity, or can I have the inspiration and the power to move forward to what I was here to, what I came here to do? And that's what astrology can really help you with timing and cycles and, direction. And that's why it's been used for centuries.
It's interesting you saying all that, Shelley, because so what it seems like what you're saying is that we're at a stage, right? The human race or humanity, and us and ourselves and everyone, they're kind of in a state in a planetary thing, and mostly here in the U.S. trying to say, okay, what was before is no longer, and I have to make either I have to make choices now, and I have to go within myself and start looking at what other choices are out there, because things are not. They don't seem right. So it seems like planetarily wise, and what's going on with astrology, which is saying that, we individually and all of us all together, we're now making choices. Right. And that's one way or another. So the best thing is to look at astrology as one of the tools to say, okay, how am I going to make my best choice to go forward? Since everything's all screwed up, everything's out of whack, and I'm all out of balance, and I don't know what's up or down or left or right anymore. A lot of us, don't even know which way to go. So here's where astrology can come in and give us some guidance, and through our stamp and our birth print can align us more to what we really are. So then this way we can follow that path, and then we can become more happier because we're following a path that's been shown in the past and throughout eons and through, generations that, we're able to see what we're made of inside, so we can follow those paths. That's what it seems like to me. That's what's happened.
Absolutely, absolutely right. And when clients come to see me, I just am able to reflect back to them who they are. And it's like they have a feeling of something they want to do, and it's right there in their chart. So they're on, their inner self is is calling them to change, but they're afraid or they're not clear or they don't trust their own intuition. And so, so many times the chart reading that I do for people is a reflection of what they know, but they don't trust. And so it's really about learning how to go within to then begin to go out into the world. But to go with a confidence that this is true, this is my soul print, this is my destiny and what I'm here to do. And, I like to say to some of my clients, it's hell to the yes, let's do it, let's go, let's get this thing going on, And so that's what happens the majority of the time when I do a session with clients.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, Shelley, because again,
okay.
I have one aspect of looking at what you just said, and another aspect of looking at it. For a lame person like myself that don't know, and I don't go to astrology. Again, I haven't, but I believe in it, and more now, because it seems like I am at that path right now myself personally, that I need to make certain decisions and stuff. I'm kind of scared as hell trying to say, okay, I'm very logical, and I think things out, and am I going to say, okay, let me trust in an astrologer or someone that is saying that, this is kind of my path, and then maybe I'll follow that path, and then I will start picking up confidence, and I start feeling good about it, and everything seems to fall into the right place. So then, this is a pretty good path, that it sees, it gives me some sort of guidance and is a part of me, which is pretty cool. Now, the other part, there could be another person who says, you know what, what the hell, I got nothing to lose. Let me give this 100% of a shot, and it feels right. So you have the skeptical person, you have the person that says, you know what, this feels right 100%. Let me just give it a shot and run with it. So I guess I'm saying to you that you probably have a lot of clients like myself. One is skeptical and one's at 100%. Let's go for it because it feels right.
Well, it's really interesting that you said that. Is because generally the clients that that come to me they're on a path. They're on a spiritual path. They're on a path of growth and understanding and unfoldment. And so they come to me already believing. Yes. Very rarely do I do clients of skeptics because, first of all, I can usually turn a skeptic just by looking at their natal chart because it's like a language. It's a symbol and it's a symbol language. It's just a different language. It's like, there's a lot of talk about light language. So you don't know it, you don't understand it, but it's a language that, I am privileged to understand. So it really goes back to your belief. If you believe in spirit, energy, the cosmos, time, then you're going to love astrology. If you think it's all crazy, then you're not gonna understand it. But most people, when I do a session with them, I reflect what's in there. The chart reflects what's in their heart, but they're afraid to be bold enough to do it. Does that make sense? So,
yes.
And it's not all roses. I mean, someone can come in with a super challenging chart. So we work through ways that we can do healing in that chart. Some people come in with they had great karma for their last life, and they're in here for, it's easier. But everybody goes through a Saturn transit, which is when you turn 30, and then again when you turn 60. No one gets, it cycles. So everyone goes through a Saturn transit, which when you're 30, you launch yourself into the world. It's like, okay, I'm going to put on my big boy pants, and I'm going to go out into the world, and I'm going to start my life. And then when you turn around 60, it's 58 to 62. It's a life review time. So people who turn 60 sometimes get depressed. They get like, oh, my God, what has my life been about? Jane Fonda wrote the book, The Next Chapter, during her second Saturn return, and that's because she was like, okay, let's do a life review. What am I proud of? What am I not proud of? What have I still yet to do? And so then you begin the last 30 years of your life. And life becomes more, when you're 30, it's like you have you don't think about time. But when you turn 60, you start to think about, okay, I got X amount of time left. What do I want to do? So no matter what your natal chart looks like, you still go through a Saturn transit. In your 40s, around 42 and 44, you go through what we call your midlife crisis transits. Everybody goes through that. And it's about really, what's it all about? What's my life about? So now if you've made good choices when you were 30 and you went on a path that was your path, not your parents' path or not just because path, then your midlife crisis transits are easier, but they're still about questioning your soul's purpose and what you're here. And then when you're 50, you have a Chiron return, which is like, okay, it's very similar to midlife crisis transits. Like, have I healed those things? And then when you're 60, it's either you're happy or you have to start doing the things that you wanted to do. Does that make sense? So
yes.
No matter what's happening, nobody escapes a Saturn transit, which is about structure, which is our life here on Earth. The more you fight it, the more difficult it is to make adjustments, or it shows up as dis-ease in your chart or in your life. You know, if you've lived your life for someone else or you haven't really followed your heart or given your gifts and talents, then, it starts to manifest in a different way.
Well, it's interesting hearing you talk and how you're able to make the connections there. I mean, from what it looks like, Shelley, that you have a great reputation. You've been doing this for a long time, and you have built up your clientele and your customers, and and they're on their path, and people talk. They share a good person, like a good doctor, a good nutritionist, a good trainer. People always like to, share what the truth is and what's good that has given someone, good results. So I guess, through your years of what and it definitely shows here, and I'm so glad I'm doing the show with you, and that, you have your experience, you also have your soul that knows this. This is a part of you as an astrologer doing this for people. So then you're getting good customers because it's referrals, and people say, you know what? If someone say, yeah, I follow Shelley and it worked out great, and then the person tells them, oh yeah, things are not going too good for me. Let me go talk to Shelley. What was that? Oh yeah, the astrologist Shelley. Let me go talk. And then you're building. So you're getting all these good customers because, again, it's referrals, and you're giving great advice, and all you're doing is giving what it's showing on their charts that they should be aware of, and you're exposing that. Now you have someone like myself that most people, I'm not an astrology I mean, I did it like 25 something years ago, and it was very interesting. And at that time in my life, I wasn't getting into it 100%. But something, for whatever reason, the flow of energies is beginning me to look at things for energy. So, again, I guess you can see my point. You don't get too many people like me that are kind of like, I hope that's true. I want to learn about this. And I hope that this astrology thing will give me good guidance. And I sort of believe it, but it's like, putting your feet in the water, It's like, all right, the water's not too cold, it's not too hot, and all right, let me go swimming in it. And hopefully it's going to take me in this great, journey positively. And it's what is showing and then now I'm a believer. So then once I'm a believer, then I can tell other people, wow, I met an astrologer, I met Shelley, and other people can meet the same one, and then you can follow a good path. Do you see what I'm trying to get at here?
Yeah. Well, and listen, here's what's the really cool thing. So I have clients that you're starting to question, what's it all about? What's my life all about? And Alex, you are really cool because you have your moon is in Aquarius. And so that's the natural, you feel good when you're understanding metaphysical or energy or studying things that are futuristic or not the regular, the regular physical things. And that's what makes you feel good. So, and you also have the planet Jupiter in your natal chart that is in Aquarius. So part of what you're here to do is really expand the consciousness about this is the future of our planet. So, you're bringing new technology, new ideas, new things that haven't been or have been around for a long time, but bringing it back into the mainstream. So, when you're now ready to hear it because you've tried many different ways and it may or may not have been successful. What's very exciting is that a lot of the millennials in their 20s, and I even have clients that are, getting ready to go to college, the young people are coming in for astrology, which is like my greatest joy because I can help guide and direct them to make the right choices when they have their first Saturn return, to show them where their destiny is and what direction and where their gifts and talents are. And so that's a great joy for me too. If I had my way, I would have every school in the country.
I was just thinking that. I said, this is so screwed up because I'm thinking that this should be a normal thing of schools and teaching us. Because here I am, I'm 55 years old, and again, I sort of knew about it maybe like 25, 30 years ago, and I didn't follow through because again, it's part of maybe it wasn't my awakening. But as we're talking, you and I'm saying, wow. This should be a part of a course of teaching people and giving people guidance on reference of who they are, so then they have some idea.
Right. Right. It would save, and the other thing, it would save so much time and energy for the kid, and like for a mother to do it for their child, because then they would know where to, creatively allow their child. Instead of, this is what your father says you have to do. And so the kid is not that, and they're being forced to do something. And so then they're going to have to spend the rest of their life in therapy because they've had to do some things that were not natural or natal or what they were here to do. It's the same with compatibility relationships. I have saved so many relationships because people, if it shows in a second whether or not where your values are compared to each other and how you communicate to each other and how you make each other feel. So if that's not going to be in alignment, then this is what needs to occur for if you guys choose to stay together. This is what needs to be worked out. It really saves a lot of time on therapy.
So, you know what? And we just thinking about it right now by you saying that. We have a lot of people in our audience and stuff, they're smart and stuff. They can make a whole business probably of just doing dating astrologically instead of dating.
Absolutely.
That's a whole business right there. It's more accurate than match whatever. It seems like astrology would match up people more precisely, and then people, instead of, like you said, wasting all their time with an adequate partner or something.
Exactly. No, it's true, and I run compatibilities all the time for my friends who are dating. So it's like, okay, no, yes, don't waste your time. This guy is not clear. So,
all right. Shelley, what about the person that says, Shelley, what about the girl? No, but I love him so much, and I love him so much, and the chart says, no, forget it. And then, no, but, love will conquer all, and I will change him. And does it still wind up showing that what the chart shows, it wasn't compatible?
Yeah, well, there's this thing called Venus, your love in Scorpio, passion, jealousy, and obsession. And so if one of my clients has that aspect in their natal chart, then we work with that. So to do healing around the obsession part of it, and the jealousy part of it and the anger part of that. So some people are born with that, and they're down here to work through that whole jealousy, obsession, love, addiction process. And, others don't. Others have Venus that's beautiful and compassionate and wonderful and healing. So every person is a unique individual, and there's no one else like that person. And so that's why it's so individualistic for people. And now that I have an audience, what I do want to say is that when you do the astrology for the masses, and let's say, Alex, you're a good person. You have your sun in Cancer. So you would normally go read about Cancer. But the problem with that is that you have Libra rising. And so when you read the stuff that's in the online in newspapers and everything, make sure you read Libra first, because that's going to be the layout of the transit, and then Cancer second. So everyone should read their rising sign first and then their sun sign second. Because
Shelley, you know what, Shelley?
What happens is you read that stuff in the newspaper or in the
yes.
online, and then you don't think astrology works. Well, you can't do astrology for the masses. It's a custom thing.
Yeah. Shelley, this is such an incredible, interesting topic, and we just barely touched upon everything that we probably would want to talk. I definitely would like to have you in the future in another show, because there's so much we can touch upon, because this is really a great show. At this point, you know what? We're running out of time. It's just time flies by so much. Please tell us your website and your phone number so people can get in contact and have a great person like yourself to help them.
Oh, that's really great. So it's really simple. It's ShelleyWarrenastrology.com, and ShelleyWarren astrology.com. And my phone number is 310-570-6693. And I have a monthly newsletter that's free that people can sign up. And then every month I do a little overview and what to look for and what the energy is. And it's always about, how you can work with challenging energies or positive energies. So that's free. You can sign on for my newsletter. It would be great.
It would be great, Shelley, like you were talking about how people read the newspaper astrology and it isn't what it should be. Maybe if you want, you can send me kind of like a write-up of how people should read the newspaper astrology, how you're able to partner it up. So then this way people can be aware of it, and I can let our website and let our people know about it that way.
Right. Well, they should read for their rising sign first and their sun sign second. And I'm I have to spend a lot of time undoing what is out there in the masses, So yeah, I'll be happy to do that. Not a problem at all. So my pleasure.
This way people can be aware of it, and definitely we can schedule in to do another show, because there's just so much stuff out there. You have your moon, you have your rising sign, you have your sun sign, and how does it deal with relationships, and how astrology will help you with business, or maybe people now are looking for different avenues right now, because everything that we know is just falling apart around us.
Right. No, it's true. One other thing that's really powerful is I do charts for businesses. And so if you have clients in there that are employees that you want to really make a great team with, you can do that too. So that's also another compatibility, powerful business tool to work with.
All right, Shelley, you hear our music? Let's schedule in for another show. Thank you so much, Shelley. We'll have you again on the show. Thank you for the great show, Shelley. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you. All righty. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye, everyone. Till next week, to the next show. Probably continue with Shelley. Goodbye, everybody.
What it used to be, there's so much hatred, war and poverty.